Do you remember last week when the Liberal Democrats held their party conference in Bournemouth and decided to completely betray 17.4 million people in this country who voted for Brexit by changing their policy on the issue? They now want to revoke Article 50 to completely stop the will of the people. But we said, it's just the Lib Dems. It's not even a real party, no one cares. We still have the two main parties, the Labour Party and the Conservatives. But this week, the Labour Party are now holding their conference in Brighton, another seaside town. And they have been earlier today and yesterday, announcing new policies on a range of issues, including Brexit. Now, we remember there was a time when the Labour Party traditionally were basically old school, working class, and pro real justice and fairness in this country. And that's why a lot of them were also traditionally anti-EU and pro-independence. Now, this week at conference, there is a massive split and division within the Labour Party because there is half of the party want to completely remain. There's another chunk that want to have a second referendum but basically push for remain. And there's like 5 people who are Labour leavers. Now, the battle that we have at conference in Labour is basically how hard they want to remain. There are 3 options. You could have remain, you could have soft remain, or you could have hard remain. Now, the other problem with Jeremy Corbyn's weak leadership is that he can't even decide anything for himself. So they are putting all these motions to the floor of the conference in Brighton, and they're getting their members to vote. Now, obviously, all of us are in favour of democratising political parties, so members could have a bigger say in terms of policy making. But this is not one of those situations. This is basically the leadership of the Labour Party not accepting responsibility or any sort of decisiveness. So they want basically the hard left and the socialists to use their masses to decide which Brexit option they should choose. Now, at this point, when I'm making the video, they haven't voted yet. They said they're going to be voting for one of the Brexit options later this afternoon. And so one of the options is basically to have a second referendum, but Jeremy Corbyn and the leadership to stay neutral. So instead of campaigning for either side. One option is to push for a referendum and actually actively campaign to remain in the European Union, and that's people like Emily Thornberry and other shadow cabinet members. And there is also another Brexit option, which is to copy the Liberal Democrats, is just to revoke Article 50. Now, this split is causing a lot of chaos at conference. There are people, but it's not just the Brexit option, but all the other policies too, because the momentum, the wing of the Labour Party, which is the hard left, have taken over. And with there's that side, there's the trade unions, and there's the moderate, normal, common sense Labour people. And again, there's like 4 of them left, who are massively arguing with each other on national TV. Literally, this is happening.
I think I've answered your point of order, Delegate. No reply back.
I want to disagree with your ruling.
No, I'm afraid you cannot.
A hand is a hand.
No, I'm afraid that's not how conference works, Delegate. A hand is not simply a hand in this room.
Vote, it's different. I'm a trade union. I represent a trade union.
I'm sorry, Delegate. I'm not going to have a row with you from the stage. So thank you for your point of order. I have explained the position. I'll hear the next point of order. Thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but I think this is an absolute debacle. It's chaos. Really, there's no point in us delegates even being here because everything that we vote for is voted down by the unions. Why don't the unions, you might as well stay here and we can go to the pub. Like, there's no point.
But before we continue, I just want to say that some of you saw yesterday that we have now launched a merchandise site where you could get your own Brexit shirts and Brexit mugs and iPhone cases. So I'll put the link in the description if you want to check them out. Obviously, we all need some of these t-shirts in case we need to go out there for some sort of Brexit rally, or obviously for Halloween when we celebrate leaving the European Union, we should all have our t-shirts ready. Now, Labour have gone so radical that Jeremy Corbyn and the leadership are openly criticising and wanting to make a move against the free press and media. This was Jeremy Corbyn responding to the media because they were asking some tough questions about his leadership.
Could I say to our friends from the media, could I just say this to you? This is our conference, these are our stalls. your behaviour, pushing past people, pushing people over, and pushing past people who want to legitimately visit stalls is totally unacceptable. And I ask you to behave with respect to our members and our conference.
Now, we criticise Jeremy Corbyn a lot, obviously, but it's not actually just because of him. The membership of the Labour Party, the ones that have decided to stay instead of leaving the party to join either the Brexit Party or the Conservatives or even the Lib Dems, these people are very, very weird. They have some dodgy views. There's been a survey from YouGov that asked a lot of party members in Labour and asked them about certain issues, and this was the response. YouGov's poll of over 1,100 members show how out of touch with the Labour voters and the middle-class lefties really are. 79% want to control who runs newspapers. 69% think it would be legitimate for unions to stage a general strike to bring down a Tory government. Astounding difference with popular opinion shows how out of touch with the working classes Labour actually are, because 2/3 are now ashamed of Britain's history. More than would feel bored, embarrassed or angry about singing the national anthem. Only 10% would be happy to sing God Save the Queen. 6 in 10 want to abolish the royals for a republic. What is this, France? This indecisiveness, especially on Brexit, there's no wonder that the other Remainers are currently outside the Labour conference in Brighton protesting against the Labour Party, which is also a Remain party. Remainers protesting Remainers. Remainers turn on Jeremy Corbyn as Stop Brexit man Steve Bray demands the Labour leader quits as soon as possible. Remainer activist Steve Bray, known as the Stop Brexit man, has demanded that Jeremy Corbyn should resign after voicing his discontent at the Labour Party's Brexit strategy. I mean, they're all Remainers, literally. Yet they still can't come together to fight for their own cause. But we've also been hearing some other really weird policies that's coming out of the Labour conference this week. One of them is on property rights and housing. The Labour Party not only want to impose a lot of extra taxes, whether it's on garden tax, which if you have a garden, or on empty properties. If you're a landlord and if you have an empty property, the Labour Party will confiscate your house for no reason. If you have a tenant, they want to give a lot of power to the tenants to basically force you to sell your property to the tenant, even if you don't want to sell. Now, they also want to abolish independent schools, because apparently they're bad. This is the most ridiculous policy I've heard from the Labour Party, at least in the last 24 hours. Because, they always come up with this sort of weird stuff. Now, the problem with this is that they have an issue with different classes in this country. They still think we are living in a kind of early 20th century where you have different classes and there are different privileges. Whereas independent schools are now basically filled with kids that come from more working class backgrounds. They're parents who are plumbers who save up to send their kids to these independent schools. And actually these schools, yes, they're private, but they actually help a lot of the other state schools in communities. For example, Eton, one of the top public schools or private schools in this country, are actually have a lot of schemes that help fund but also educate and train other schools in the area that are state funded, basically. So if you get rid of these, for example, there's going to be a lot of kids that they'll be misplaced. You need to find them some sort of space at state schools. That's going to cost millions and millions. And the other problem is that the standard of education is going to go completely down. And I have no idea what these people are thinking. But that's not all, because they also want to abolish Offsted, the education watchdog, which looks after the interest of children and to make sure that we have higher education standards. And why I know why they're doing this, because Offsted are quite tough on a lot of badly performed schools, because they want to push them to be better. But obviously the Labour and Socialists don't really want that. They would rather have all schools and everyone in society to perform badly, as long as we are equally poor and equally performing badly. That's the policy they want. Now, the problem is Offsted are also a watchdog for protection of children. Labour's plan to scrap child protection watchdog. One of these radical policies is the plan to scrap Offsted, which the party has said is a flawed inspection system that is biased against poorer schools. Labour plan on replacing the inspection watchdog with regular health checks run by local authorities. Whilst the policy has been criticised by many, one point has been overlooked. Offsted is also responsible for child protection, regular social care for vulnerable children outside of school. But the Labour Party want to have bureaucrats and the big government to inspect schools, because that way they can fiddle with all the numbers and just pretend all schools are performing good. But their flawed policy on property rights and taxation is also showing a huge hypocrisy from the Labour left. Labour accused of hypocrisy for a £20 million property business that has not paid tax for 15 years. They've been accused of being barefaced hypocrites after funneling a lot of obviously heavy tax policies, despite their party and the business related to them not paying taxes for the past 15 years. One rule for the rich and the powerful and another for the rest of us. That is the Labour Party. But going back to Brexit, no one in the European Union has actually taken Labour or even the Lib Dems seriously, because they are all freaking out in Europe. Because Boris Johnson obviously said that we are going to be leaving with or without a deal. And actually the way things are going, it's going to be without a deal, because the EU will not give us a deal. The compromise that we're being asking for, not the treaty, but at least some sort of withdrawal agreement to have the divorce aspect sorted, the European Union don't like that. But they're panicking. Panicked Eurocar giants demand the EU seal a Brexit deal as they face losing £50,000 every minute. European automotive bosses have urged Brussels to strike a Brexit deal to save the industry. I mean, this is all because of the threat of no deal, and this will literally cost them £50,000 a minute. But this is where things are getting interesting, and I know that a lot of people on the Brexit side, we're concerned, we're angry, we're worried about the outcome. But this is a time for unity, and I'm calling for unity from all of you, from literally every single one of us on the Brexit side. Yes, there are different parties. You have Boris Johnson, who's the leader of the Conservative Party, and Nigel Farage, who's a good guy, but he's the leader of a different party, so they obviously always going to be criticising each other because they're not part of the same party. But because we have Brexiteers going around saying a lot of different things to each other, and you have some groups listening to one person saying, well, I heard some Brexiteers saying, we're all going to die. And I just believe what I heard. This is the time to be united. Yes, there could be a lot of outcomes. We could have various different options that's could happen by the end of October. We could have some sort of Theresa May's compromise deal, which is bad. We could have no deal Brexit. We could just not have Brexit. But at this point, we have to stick together instead of trying to create divisions. Look what the Remainers are doing. Remainers are completely split and they're divided. And this is a time that we should come together. Obviously, people have different opinions, and there are different Brexit experts who are saying that we are definitely going to have some sort of Theresa May deal, and this is Boris's fault, and he's betraying us. And some people are saying Nigel Farage is not a true Brexiteer because it's not in UKIP, or people are saying no, Nigel Farage is basically an angel. Whatever it says, I'm going to believe it. Everyone's right and wrong at the same time. So not everything that Nigel says is right, not everything that Boris says is right, or vice versa as well. But at this point, let's stick together. If obviously things go wrong in the end of October, we're all going to come out. We're all going to be out there making sure that we keep campaigning to actually get what we want. But at this point, let's see how things go. Because as I said before, the threat of having some sort of Theresa May's treaty compromise deal is not going to happen, because even if Boris wants it, which he doesn't, despite what other people say, it's not going to go through Parliament. It's not going to happen. So the likelihood is still no deal Brexit, and we are going to be leaving at the end of October. But there are obviously predictions. Nigel Farage thinks that we are not going to be leaving. And as I said, he's a good guy, and I believe in his vision, and I'm always going to be supporting him. But it's just a prediction. He might be right. We might not leave. You never know. But we are still going with what the plan is, and Dominic Cummings and everyone in Downing Street. So there's no guarantee that what someone says is definitely going to be happening. But before we finish off, obviously, as I said earlier, we have our merchandise site that's now been launched. I'll put the link in the description. We have a lot of different designs and options for pro-Brexit t-shirts, and obviously mugs and phone cases. So check them out. we're all going to be needing these t-shirts, whether we're going to be having Brexit rallies or celebrating us leaving the European Union at the end of October. So it's good to have this collection, especially years from now. So go check it out. It's in the description, the link, and see if you like anything. And obviously all proceeds will go towards helping the Brexit cause and improving this channel so we could raise awareness and spread the message to make sure we actually do deliver Brexit.
And as always, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification bell next to it.
And if you want to follow me on social media and get in touch with me there, Twitter, Instagram, you could find the details down here. And as always, I'm Tousi, and this is the fastest growing centre-right channel in the country.